Hello dear students, once again welcome back to my channel. I hope you all are good in your home. So today we will start the first chapter of your physical chemistry class 12, that is the solid state. So here are the contents of this chapter. The first content is the introduction of solid and its types of crystalline solid, crystal lattice and unit cell, number of atoms in a unit cell, close packing and packing efficiency, calculation involving the unit cell dimension, imperfection in solids, and the last one is the electrical and magnetic properties. So these are the things that we are going to learn in this chapter, and we will discuss this one by one. So first of all, the introduction of this chapter. So as you all know that there are three states of matter, which are solid, liquid and gases. Now in this chapter our main focus is only on the solid. In the liquid part you have already learned in previous class. So here we will concern only for the solid. So let us see. So the first question arises that what is actually a solid? So this definition you all know, you have learned this in your previous classes or in your lower classes. So solid is having a definite shape, it is having a definite volume, it is highly incompressible, it is rigid. So all these properties of the solid that is related to its shape, volume and its rigidity, it's mainly due to the intermolecular force. Now the question arises, what are the intermolecular forces? Okay, now the intermolecular forces are the type of force which is present in the constituent particles and due to which they are close to each other. So it is a type of force which bring the particles closer to each other. That is called as your intermolecular force. Now in case of solid, the constituent particles are held closely by strong intermolecular forces. The particles are very close to each other, or we can say that intermolecular force between them is very high. And due to this reason, they are having a definite shape, definite volume, and they are highly incompressible or rigid. The last point is they have fixed position of constituent. Okay, so this is the general definition of solid or its properties. Okay, now here is the arrangement of the particles in solid, liquid and gases. You all know that the arrangement of particles in solid is that the particles or the constituent particles in solid are very close to each other. In case of liquid, they are a bit far from each other, whereas in gas, they are very far from each other. Okay, so here it is. Next. Okay, now the types of solid. So based on the atomic arrangement, binding energy and the physical and chemical properties, solids are classified into two groups or two types. They are called as, number one is the crystalline solid and the second is the amorphous solid. So we will discuss this one by one. See, the first one is the crystalline solid. Okay, now see the definition. A solid is said to be crystalline if its constituent particles are arranged in a definite geometric pattern in a three-dimensional space so that there is a short range as well as a long range order of the constituent particles. Okay, now here it is given that a solid is said to be crystalline when the constituent particles are arranged in a definite geometric pattern. Here I have underlined this because this is the important part here, definite geometrical pattern. Okay. So there is no random arrangement of particles. The particles are arranged in a definite order. Okay. So they are called as short range as well as long range order. So the second point is they are incompressibly ordered and arranged units. Okay. So the constituent particles, see the constituent particles means the atoms, ions and the molecules. So they are arranged in a definite order throughout the crystal. And this arrangement is repeated over and over in the entire crystal. They have sharp melting point. See the next point it is given here, that is they are having the sharp melting point. Now what does it mean, sharp melting point? It means that the crystalline solids are melt at a particular temperature. See, if I say that like take an example like NaCl crystal. If I say that NaCl crystal, solid crystal, it melts at 270 degrees Celsius. It means it is melt only at that particular temperature, not even a less than 1 degree less or 1 degree more. So this is what called as sharp melting point at a fixed temperature. They are anisotropic or they are anisotropic. Okay, now this is very important. Anisotropic is the property of the crystalline solid. Now what is this? Anisotropic means that the solid is having different properties in different direction. Okay. Suppose if we are talking about the properties like refractive index, thermal expansion, its stiffness, its strength, all these properties are having different value in different direction. They are not same. Okay, so it is called as anisotropic. Now crystalline solids are called as true solids. This is again important. They are having high heat of fusion. Some examples are given here: sodium chloride, cesium chloride, etc. Okay. So overall, the most important point here it is that a solid is said to be crystalline if when there is a definite geometrical pattern of the arrangement of the constituent particles. They are called as long range order because the same pattern is repeated over and over again in the crystal, in the entire crystal. They are having the sharp melting point, they are anisotropic, and they are called as true solids. Next is the amorphous solid. Now amorphous solid is a solid in which there is also a regular arrangement of particles but to a small region. It is not like that in case of crystalline solid the particles are repeated over the entire crystal and there is a definite arrangement of particles throughout the crystal. Whereas in case of amorphous there is a repeated regular arrangement of constituent particles but to a small region, and that is why they are called as short range order. Okay. So there is a haphazard arrangement of atoms or molecules. See, there is no definite arrangement, but they are haphazardly arranged in the different direction. They are not having sharp melting point. Okay. Now, in case of crystalline, we have seen that they are having the sharp melting point. Whereas in case of amorphous, they are not having the sharp melting point. They melted over a range of temperature. Like if I say that a plastic or the rubber, it gets melted in a range of temperature that is between 100 to 150 degrees Celsius or 150 to 160 degrees Celsius. So this is a range of temperature. So they are not having a sharp melting point or fixed melting point. They are isotropic. See, crystalline solid, we have just seen that they are anisotropic. It is just reverse of that. It is isotropic. Now iso means same. So in case of amorphous solid, these solids are having the physical properties like we have seen here, like thermal expansion, stiffness, strength. They are having the same property, or they are having the same value in different direction. They are direction independent, or we can say. Okay, so isotropic. The last is they are not having definite geometrical shape. Okay, so the examples are given here like plastic, glass, rubber, etc. So the most important point here it is that they are having the regular arrangement of constituent particle but up to a small region only. Okay, one more thing is there. They are called as pseudo solids or supercooled liquid. Now what is this pseudo solid or supercooled liquid? It's very important. Now pseudo solid means they are solid but to some extent they also resemble the liquids. Okay, like they flow very slowly at a room temperature. This type of solid we call it as a pseudo solid or supercooled liquid. I'm giving you an example. Like you must have seen that in old houses, the glass window panes of the old houses, they are very much thicker at the bottom than at the top. It is because of the reason that the glass actually flows. This is due to the fluidity of the glass. The glass actually flows. That is the reason why they are very much thicker at the bottom than at the top. So this property of the amorphous solid is called as pseudo solids or supercooled liquid. See the next. Okay, here it is a picture of crystalline solid and the amorphous solid. You can easily distinguish between the crystalline solid and amorphous solid. See, in the crystalline solid, there is a definite arrangement or a regular arrangement of constituent particles. Whereas in amorphous solid, there is a regular arrangement, but up to a very small region, not the entire crystal, not in the entire crystal. Okay, so this is the picture here. Okay, and next. So till now what we have discussed about what is a solid, what are the different types of solid, crystalline and amorphous. Okay, the next is the type of crystal structures. Okay, now here it is given that different type of crystal structures are there. It is based on the nature of binding force and the type of atoms present here. So the first one is the ionic crystal, the second is the covalent crystal, the third one is the molecular crystal, and the last one is the metallic crystal. So we will discuss one by one. See, the first one is the ionic crystal. As the name itself suggests, ionic. It means here the constituent particles are basically the ions. Okay, now ions, the positive ions and the negative ions, or we can say the cations and the anions. So here the lattice points are occupied by the positive and the negative ions. So its a property is given here. In this type of crystalline solid, the constituent particles are the positive and the negative ion. Let us take an example of NaCl crystal. So in NaCl crystal, the ions are Na plus and Cl minus ion. Okay. Now the type of forces between this Na plus and Cl minus is the strong electrostatic force, or we can say Coulombic force of attraction. So due to this strong electrostatic force of attraction, they are having high melting point. Okay. They are poor conductor of electricity in the solid state but conduct electricity in the molten state. It's very important. Ionic crystal, basically they are insulator in the solid state, but when it comes to in the aqueous form or in the molten state, they do conduct electricity. Okay. So the next property of this is they are soluble in the polar solvent but they are insoluble in the non-polar solvent. So here it is, these are the properties of the ionic crystal. Basically, the constituent particles in the ionic crystals are the ions, positive ions and the negative ions. The second one is the covalent crystal. Okay, now covalent crystals are the crystal in which the constituent particles are the non-metal atom which is linked with the adjacent atom by a covalent bond throughout the crystal. Okay, the nature of the bond or the nature of the force between the particle here is a covalent bond. Now the atoms are held together by the covalent bond, and these solids are very hard and brittle, and they are having the high melting point. They are insulated and do not conduct electricity. Some examples are also given here like silicon carbide, graphite, diamond, etc. Okay. Graphite is also a covalent solid, but it is conduct electricity. Can you tell me the reason why? It is actually a soft and it do conduct the electricity. The reason for is that the structure of graphite, I think you have seen in your lower classes that graphite is having the layered structure. The different carbon atoms are arranged in a layered manner. Okay. Now in each layer, the carbon atom is bonded with the 3 neighboring carbon atom. As we know that the tetracovalency of carbon, it has 4 electrons in the valence shell. So the 3 electrons, each carbon atom shared 3 electrons with the adjacent carbon atom, and the remaining 1 electron which remains free, and that free electron is responsible for the electricity, for conducting the electricity in graphite. So that is the reason why graphite, in spite of having the covalent bond, it do conduct the electricity. Okay. So these are some examples given here. Silicon carbide, graphite, diamond is the best example. Okay. So the next one is molecular crystal. Okay. Now the molecular crystal, here the constituent particles are the neutral molecules. Now depending on the nature of the molecules, they are of again different types. You will see. So the molecules are held together by the weakest van der Waals forces of attraction. Just remember the force. They are very soft solids. They are having the low melting point. They are poor conductor of electricity. These are some properties of the molecular solids. Now we will see that depending on the nature of molecules, different types of molecular solids. The first one is the non-polar molecular solid. Now in this case, the constituent particles are either the atoms of noble gas or the non-polar molecules like H2, Cl2, I2, CH4, etc. The force between these particles here is the weak dispersion forces or the London forces, which you have already learned in your previous classes. The second is the polar molecular solids. Here the constituent particles are polar molecules like HCl, SO2, etc. and the force of attraction here, it is dipole-dipole attraction. Okay. Now these are basically, now I am telling you some properties of this polar molecules. They are basically the very soft in nature. They are the non-conductor of electricity. Okay, and they are having very high melting and boiling point comparatively to the non-polar molecules. Polar molecules are generally having high melting and boiling point. The third one is the hydrogen bonded molecular solid. Now, as a hydrogen name is given before this solid, so in this the constituent particles are such molecules in which the hydrogen atom must be there and it is linked with the electronegative atom, which is again small in size. Okay, see the examples are given here like fluorine, oxygen, nitrogen in H2O, NH3, etc. And the force here, the force of attraction between them is the hydrogen bonding. So here there are three types of molecular solids are there: non-polar, polar molecular solids, and the hydrogen bonded molecular solids. The next one is the metallic crystal. Now, in case of metallic crystal, the constituent particles are the positively charged metals ion and free electrons. Now, these metal ions, we know the property of metals that they are having the low value of ionization energy. So, due to the low value of ionization energy, they can easily lose an electron from their valence shell and become a positively charged species. So, these positively charged species, metal ions, and the free electrons are responsible for the conductivity. They are soft to very hard. The metals, they are having high tensile strength. They are the good conductor of electricity because of the free electrons. They are malleable. They are ductile in nature. Both the bonding electrons in the metal remain delocalized over the entire crystal. And the last one is they are having the high density. Okay, so this is all about. So the next part of this lesson we will discuss in the next class. So till then you can just go through the slides and read everything what is there in the slides. Okay. If you are having any doubt related to this, you can ask me in the comment section. Thank you, students.